Sales is a phenomenal way to make a lot of money without the risk. I just want reps, they come in and they just work hard.
Define working hard. What does that look like?
Working hard it's doing whatever it takes, not whatever you hope it takes. It's really kind of matching the paycheck that you want to get. If I'm going to pay you 10 grand a month plus whatever it is, like, earn it.
Goals are cheap and they're easy to come by and everyone can have a goal, but very few are willing to set the standards required to get there. And look at Cristiano Ronaldo. He has some other standards. Kobe Bryant back in the day, he had some standards. So how do you connect people to the vision and the mission, like the secret sauce, like fire someone up from within?
It's like, this is who we are, this is where we're going, and this is the type of person I want.
What has to happen in order to find a good recruit? Like, what are you looking for?
There's a few core components that you're always looking for.
Welcome back to the Freedom Formula Podcast. I'm your host, Shane DeCosta, and today's guest is no other than Sean Wray, a veteran sales coach and recruiter who's built and scaled some of the most fast-growing companies in the globe. But Sean's journey didn't actually start in sales. He was a police officer that was actually frustrated with his future, who took a lucky break working with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad organization. He spent 6 whole years running global events and then found himself starting from scratch, stacking supermarket shelves one Christmas after losing it all. That rock bottom moment became the fuel that turned him into one of the top earners and most respected sales coaches in the space, with millions in commission under his belts. We're going to break down what he learned from the grind, how to build teams at last, and why, in his words, it takes what it takes, not whatever you hope it takes. Now, before we dive in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the weekly conversations we have with real freedom fighters just like Sean Wray. All right, let's dive in. The one and only Sean Wray.
Interesting. I've never been announced like that way before, but I appreciate it.
Well, it's true, my brother. Hey, mate, it's great to have you on the Freedom Formula podcast.
It's good to be here, man. It's, technology is marvelous. You're in Australia and I'm in the UK, and we can still do stuff like this. So, being as old as I am, it's all very revolutionary to me, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's not too many people, I guess, in the remote sales space that stand out like you do. And obviously, it's an honor to have you on here. And I just wanted to first acknowledge, what you're doing. Just looking from the edges, what you're doing is phenomenal. So I want to really sort of unpack that and help the audience, the listeners, just learn more about you and what you do. So maybe just a brief intro as to who is Sean Wray, and we'll start with that.
Yeah, I think very short. Like, for me personally, been in the space like 14 years. I think over time, what I've probably become known for is sales recruiting, sales training, and just, I suppose, bullying sales teams, to be honest. I'm a stickler for standards. So for me personally, I think it's one of those big things. But I've probably worked with all the biggest names in the industry, and it's been great. But really, I think those kind of 3 areas are where I kind of stand out the most. There's a boatload of sales trainers these days. Everyone that can't be asked to sell anymore is transitioning to be a sales trainer, or a sales manager, or a sales leader, or a sales guru, whatever you want to call themselves. But I think I'm probably one of the original OGs. It's been a hell of a journey. But to be honest with you, now I kind of feel like I'm in a good space in my career. I think that it takes a long time to build that some sort of reputation in this industry, especially because there's so much kind of noise going on.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how it's developed over the 14 years since I've been in. It's really insane. Where we are now is it's like the Wild West. But just when you think it'll like slow down, it just doesn't. It just picks up again. You're like, well, where did that come from? And obviously now with the, this AI kind of revolution that we're in, it's just picked up again. And it's crazy how it just rides these trends and these waves, and like, here we are right now. But fundamentally for me, recruiting, sales training, leadership and management is for me it's always applied no matter what kind of stage the industry's been in. And I suppose that's why I've stayed in those areas, to be honest, because there's never not going to be a need for that, ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of really kind of where my experience is at the moment. And that's what most people kind of know me for, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, let's I suppose circle around the recruitment side of it, because being a founder myself, right? I mean, if you're running a high ticket offer and you're a founder, at some point you've got to recruit, and it begrudgingly or against all our desire to, like, we effectively become
Yep.
a HR department. We have to hire, then manage, and all that kind of stuff, right? And it sucks dog's balls in many
It
ways,
does.
right?
It does.
Um,
It does. No one wants to do it.
and there's and there's recruiting, and I guess different niches are going to have I suppose different nuance to them. But so let's zero in on that. Okay, from your experience, and I guess what you've seen over the years, what has to happen in order to find a good recruit? Like, what are you looking for? Because, see, a lot of people listening will be trying to break in, or maybe already in the sales industry, and
Yeah.
having a bit of insight into what founders are looking for will be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I first started sales recruitment when I was over at like Sales Sniper 7th level. I'm probably going back a few years now.
That's a while.
Um, but it's a long time.
Yeah.
But the reason I started a program called Boot Camp, and the reason why I started that is because there was no real, where do I go to get really good reps? And it was about reputation. So we'd get requests all the time, obviously being Sales Sniper, you must have the best reps. And we did as a core team, but new reps coming in, really difficult to find.
Mm,
And so I kind of created this boot camp that they would needed to go through in order to be good enough
hmm
to even get in the door.
hmm
And so that's kind of where recruitment started for me, was just kind of like a need for really good sales reps.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's a few core components that you're always looking for. What bootcamp really tested was the ability to work hard. I mean, there was like 5 sessions a week, lots of homework, lots of accountability. Like, you really had to work for it. I think it nearly gave me like several heart attacks along the way so I had to manage several different time zones. But it was a passion for me, and still is,
Mm.
that I just want reps that are, do you know what? They come in and they just work hard.
Mm.
You want to make 10 grand a month.
Define
That's
working hard.
more than
Define working hard. What does that look like?
working. Working hard is, it's doing whatever it takes, not whatever you hope it takes. And there's a massive gap between the two. And what I mean by that is, it's not just around about KPIs. That's just like an easy measure of work, but it's the attitude that you bring to the business and the organization. Like, I'll do that. I'll get on that.
Mm.
I'm going to chase that
Can
down.
do.
And from a management perspective, and you know this to be true, like,
Yeah.
you want people to go, I got it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend my time micromanaging, and I definitely don't want to spend my time checking up on you. And I think one of the key components from a good rep these days is someone that you can trust,
Mm.
that once you've shown them, they're just going to get on with it.
Mm.
And I think these days we've created so many like checks and balances to keep an eye on people that they should just be doing that anyway.
Mm.
And it's like, I've got nothing wrong with VAs, but like, lots of companies are employing VAs to mop up the crap
Yeah.
that the sales reps have left behind.
Yeah.
And you're employing setters because the sales reps won't do pre-call. And you're employing more people because they won't do follow-up. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it really bugs me, because if I'm going to pay you 10 grand a month plus whatever it is, like, earn it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think we've lost that like real perception of what 10 grand is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when you first started out, I definitely know when I first started, I spent like 13, 14 years as a police officer. I was earning like 2.5, 3K a month, and I was busting my balls for it. But fast forward, X amount later, people want to work for like 20 hours and earn 10K plus. And it's like, no. So like, working hard is really kind of matching the paycheck that you want to get.
Mm.
And it really is it really is being that person on the team that the sales manager, sales lead, and business owner can turn to and go, yeah, you're my guy.
What I think
Right?
is fascinating in
Trust.
that is this, right? People get into sales because on some level they want to be an entrepreneur, right? So there's your entrepreneur, there's your founder, the person that's going to take the heat, the person that's going to have the sleepless nights, the person that literally puts their balls in the line to get an offer up and running, puts their credit card on the table, and shows up every
Yeah,
day, even when they don't feel like it. And these founders
absolutely.
bleed, for their business, for what they do. And then you've got these entrepreneurs, right? And sales attracts the type of individual that doesn't want to be an employee. They want a little more, right? But they're not necessarily at the point yet. Many do become,
Yeah.
but not yet the entrepreneur. But here's the challenge in what I've seen. So many enter into this environment of the entrepreneur with an employee mentality.
Yep.
And so when
Yep.
you
You're
enter
not wrong.
in, yeah, so when you enter in with an employee mentality, what you're measuring is the time. Like, I don't get paid for this, but what, from my experience, they fail to understand it, and it's a battle, and it really becomes frustrating. And I imagine you've seen this a million times more than I have, is trying to break them out of this psychology, this paradigm. There's a paradigm shift that you need to enter into, because if you want to earn 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, and some ask for 30, 40, or 50, well, then behave like an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Work 12 hours a day. Do
Yep.
the study, do the reps, study the
Yep.
books, get on YouTube, stop scrolling on other bullshit, and actually take your job serious. Like I just said, I just had an interview with someone a little earlier, and I'm going to sort of ask you your perspective on this. And I said to the guy, I said, look, here's the thing. When you come in and work for me, I'm not interested in people that are interested in making money. I'm after people that are obsessed about service and making money.
Yep.
Because when you're
I agree.
obsessed, there's a different level of commitment, right? So here's the
Yep.
thing. So for me, and I'm really interested, I guess, in your perspective on it, because the main, I guess, paradigm shift that I try to achieve is getting them out of this employee mentality. Like, leave that at the door. Because when you come in, you've got opportunity, and right? You're a founder yourself, not just in what you do, and you help other businesses. But the amount of technology, the amount of expense every month that you have to meet in order to have the
Yep.
technologies, the staff, the platforms, the branding, the and all the additional things that you do, like,
Yep.
is huge, right? So when someone can just step in with zero risk and go straight into profit, all you got to do is bring energy and skill, energy and skill.
Yep.
Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, why aren't you trying? And so I guess,
And
how do you shift your guy? Like, how do you shift, or more importantly, actually, how do you assess for that? So what do you do to assess if someone's coming in with an employee mentality, or if they're a true entrepreneur?
well, I mean, I love what you said there because it's so true. And I think sometimes when people are transitioning into the industry, they don't know what to do because they come from structure
Yeah, corporate.
to most of the time no structure. And it's like, what do I do with my time? And it was interesting when I first met my wife and she knew nothing about this industry. And she said, well, why don't they treat it more like a job? And she kind of wasn't wrong because, and what I've found over the years, that the more I structure my teams, like start of day, end of day, and start to kind of roadmap their week out a little bit more, they actually perform a little bit better when I put more into them
Constraint.
rather than less. Exactly. Because now I know where your time and effort is being spent. Now I know what you're doing when you should be doing it. And so I know that these things get done when they should be done. And I hate doing it, but people that are going from structure to freedom, it's a really, it's like they just have no idea what to do with it. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Even the more seasoned guys and girls, like they're better at it, but they're still not organized around it. And to your point, they get distracted and everything else goes on and et cetera, et cetera. But like, how do you kind of like really test for that? Honestly, like it's a very robust process because you'll find that a lot of reps just don't want to like, I'm good enough. You should take me. Do you know what I mean? I can sell. Like, really? So like, it really is like a journey for them. That I treat a rep that's supposedly up here the same as a rep that's down here, because if you won't go through those hurdles for me, then I'm sorry, but you don't match my work ethic. And so for me, they've got to do interviews, core reviews, role plays, final interviews, and they've got to also do like outbounds and inbounds as well. And I want to see them like do the work that's necessary. So for example, if I'm enrolling someone in an account, they have to do a minimum X amount of dials every single day
What would be
because
the minimum
I
that you
want to
would give
rep.
them? What would be the minimum you would give someone that thinks they're a rock star?
Well, I mean, 100 is like average. I mean, you should be able to bang that out in no time with a power dialer. It's just that the actual willingness to do it is what I'm testing for.
Mm,
And whether they make a sale or not, I don't care. But the willingness to do
I
it
agree.
is it gets that entitlement out of them.
Mm,
And I also want to know as well. I mean, God, you must know this better than anyone. But you know, you constantly playing this ads game, but you want a team that could go. Sorry, Shane, we got it.
yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
And you know, you're really testing for the willingness to do the work.
Mm,
And it is a lot of once you've done like a lot of interviews, you can kind of sense it quite quickly.
mm,
But for me personally, the more robust the system, it kind of gets rid of the people that are not prepared to do the work.
mm,
Because for a lot of offers, a lot of business owners would just go, "Oh my God, yes, just come sell for me," just because it's a bum on a seat. And
mm,
it's your standards have to be represented by the process that you have.
mm.
And if you want someone that's going to work hard, we'll make them work hard to get on your offer.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. It's interesting,
because
right?
the
Yeah. What I love about that is this. You know, there's Robert R. Cialdini, I believe. He talks about the in his book Persuasion, I believe. There's something there that he sort of alludes to, and he talks about where the harder that someone has to work to get into something, the more it is that they're
Yep.
going to actually respect and value the thing, right? And the analogy he gives is, you know, universities and these frat kind of, initiations, which are pretty extreme, right? Like, yeah, people do some pretty crazy shit. But that process, what it's done is it actually defines how someone feels about the community they're actually getting into. So I love that you said that, and so there's a word there that I feel is really powerful. I want to understand sort of what you mean about that a little more, right? Because I'm a big believer, even more so recently, about the definition between goals and standards. And you know, it's easy to have a goal. You know, goals are cheap and they're easy to come by, and everyone can have a goal. But very few are willing to set the standards required to get there. That's the difference between the 1%, the crazy, the obsessed, the individuals that rise to the top in anything they do in life. They've got extreme standards. I mean, look at Cristiano Ronaldo, right? He has some motherfucking standards, right? Like the dude has some standards. Think about someone else that's elite at what they do. Kobe Bryant back in the day. I mean, he had some standards. If you read about
Yep.
the man, right?
Yep.
So it's not the goals, it's the standards. So when you I guess are considering an agent, what are some examples of standards that are non-negotiable? Because
Yeah.
you know you create elite teams, right? And I'd love for a viewer to really understand what does it actually look like to operate at an elite level in an elite organization with an elite manager with an elite mindset. Because no one gets into this game to be average, right?
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't. I think a lot of it is misaligned expectations coming into the industry, and I think that's why the ratio between good rep and all the others is getting higher and higher and higher. So just to throw a stat out there, we probably go through 100 applications to find one,
Wow.
right? That I mean, I know we have got very high standards, but that's what you're dealing with now, and that's what business owners are dealing with now. And it's crazy to think it wasn't. It was more like one to like 9, 10, like when I first kind of got into recruitment. But now, like you really are having to kind of hunt for it. But when we look at standards, it's like it. Do you know what? It doesn't take a lot.
Mm,
It's daily meetings. It's all your tracking, your end of day reports. You're doing your own QC. You're asking questions. You're reporting back. You're doing whatever it takes to meet that KPI for that week. Because what you typically find, and it annoys the fuck out of me, for me, I want a rep that goes on a Monday, this is what I'm going to do by Friday. But more importantly, this is how I'm going to do it.
yeah.
So you talked about entrepreneur there, and sales is a phenomenal way to make a lot of money
Yeah.
without the risk.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, phenomenal, like it's stupid.
Mm,
And you think, well, hang on a second, you entitled, like
yeah.
what are you doing?
Mm,
And you give them all the tools, you give them all the resources, but standards really come down to if I say I'm going to do something, it gets done.
Mm,
And not just because, I completed it, but I
mhm,
actually did it.
mm,
And so on a Monday, it's like, if I'm going to hit 5 units and 50K cash, I'll do whatever it takes. And they will get it done. But everyone else is like, well, I didn't quite hit this week. But they take it personally if they don't hit. And they really are reporting back to you and go, hey, Sean, hey, Shane, like,
yeah,
listen, like, it's Wednesday. I'm at 2. I'm not going to be at 5. Like, the reason why this, and this. And they know exactly why and where they missed. And they know exactly where they're going to pick up. And a key, like, there's two key measures with most reps of standards. One is, I don't know what you do in your organizations, but I'm really big on pre-call, especially with like a ton of like, automation and show rates like plummeted through the floor. I'm a big fan of pre-call and really managing your diary. Like, not just like a baby bird syndrome, like calls, and I'm really managing your diary, like pushing people up, connecting with people, really kind of paying attention to it. That's a standard. And then the other one is follow up.
mhm.
Because what I typically find is reps will just have that baby bird syndrome and they will just sit there
Waiting.
and wait for inbound bookings
Most
to come. And you're like,
frustrating
what
thing
the
in the fucking world.
fuck are you
It's the
doing?
most
It's
frustrating thing in the world.
annoying.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is. You've got
Yeah.
this incredible pipeline.
Yeah.
When I've got a rep that goes, what can I do? Like, is there any list I can dial? I've got one guy who's brought on a team at the moment, and literally he's been there, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. And he's like, have you got a list I could dial? I was like, thank God. And
Initiative.
it doesn't happen very often, but
Initiative.
he's willing to do it.
Mm,
Exactly.
mm,
Initiative. He's hustling because he wants to make 20K a month and he'll do whatever it takes to get it. So when we talk about standards, it's like there's a personal standard which is reflected in how you show up in the organization. So like, if you're late for meetings, if you haven't done your EOD reports, if you're not up to date on your pre-call, you follow up, your CRM's a mess, your tracking's a mess, all these things that me and you probably get frustrated about on a daily basis that make our job harder, right? Like, they're fully aware what needs to be done. They're just not doing it. And when I look at performance, it's one or two things. It's either my fault because you don't know what to do, or you didn't do it, which is a blatant refusal. And that's how I look at performance. It's very binary. Did I teach you how to do it? Yes or no? Did you understand it? Yes or no? Did you do it? Yes or no? And a lot of the times when I talk to reps, I'm like, I know you know what to do, but you're refusing to do it. And they're like, no, 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 I just forgot. No, no. Like, if it was me, I would have done it.
mm,
So I know that you can do it. You're choosing not to.
mhm.
And I think that's that kind of attitude. Well, oh, tomorrow. Well, no.
No.
Like, those are the reps that want to earn a lot of money, but they're not willing to do the work to get done. They just don't see the value in having that standard. And if you've got those lacking standards throughout, and
Lead.
you've probably done thousands of call reviews, like on their calls, their standards are low
Mm,
and they're not really doing what they should do on the call because they show up with less standards and then they show up on the call with less standards.
mhm,
And so they might be going through a script, but they won't be doing anywhere near the job that they should be doing
mm,
just because that's how they show up generally. And to a prospect, that's
mm,
how they're going to show up the same way.
mm,
So, I mean, really standards comes from like this personal pride. And you can see it very quickly. The ones that do those, just the admin is a key indicator.
mm.
If they don't do it, you immediately know that they're not going to work out,
You're not paying attention.
right? They're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hang on a second. If you can't at least do that, there's no way you're going to make the money you want to make. Zero. And I've got a very, like, it depends what team I'm working on because some sales cycles might be longer than others. You've either got 30 days or 45 days. That's it.
To show,
Like,
show that you're going to hang.
100%. Because, I don't want to waste a bunch of money on hoping that you'll, pull your finger out your ass.
Mm.
I need someone to come in. It's like a relationship, isn't it? You go through this honeymoon period
Yep.
and everything's fucking great.
Yep.
So I want to feel like that about a rep when they
Yeah.
come in. It's like, oh my God, they're doing the work,
Here's a
they're doing the
question.
calls. And it's,
Here's a question, right? I mean, you've managed countless reps, right? Have you got to a point where you have that gut feeling, you've got that intuition
yeah,
where that without, I guess, pre-labeling people and sort of not giving them a chance, right? Because if you're going to let them in, you're giving them a chance. But I guess, have you got to the point where just with that much experience, deep down, you have a gut feeling that that something is telling you, okay, well, this person deserves a chance, but something's telling me it's not going to work out?
Yeah, no, like that's why we run fairly robust process. So I see you in different scenarios, and I see your personality in different lights. You can tell quite quickly. Like for example, when you first interview, if a rep says, if the rep's like, well, have you got enough leads and can I make this amount of money? I instantly know that they're just, they're going to be a showboater,
Mm-hmm.
right? The reps that are a little bit more intuitive is like, well, they're asking very intelligent questions about processes and systems and one call versus two call. And they're really like paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But another rep comes on just going, have you got the leads and can I make 10 grand?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, well, hang on a second. All you're here for is that. And the second that doesn't happen, you're not going to pick up the phone.
No.
You're just not.
Yeah.
And you can always tell by the quality of their questions how they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I deliberately push back on them and deliberately make the process longer because you now have got to prove to me, not in an arrogant way, but that you actually are prepared to jump through a few more hoops
Yeah.
in order to be able to get that. Because if I'm going to pay you that amount of money, like earn it.
Yeah.
So, again, I think to be honest, like a really robust process helps eliminate a lot of the people that are going to frustrate you.
So that process, right? So at some point someone gets through, and then we need to connect them to the vision. So how do you do that, right? Because if you want people to bleed, it's one thing paying them a certain amount, but it's another thing actually giving them a reason to bleed, something to believe
Very
in.
much
Right?
so.
And I truly believe that in anything, when you can give someone a reason to wear the jersey with pride. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Legacy, and it's written about the All Blacks.
Yep.
And the book is largely about culture, and the kind of the underpinned story about it is that the greats, the leaders of the pack, so to speak, they're the ones sweeping the sheds. They're the ones setting the standards. They're the ones calling people out, like not the actual manager, not the coach.
Manager.
It's the leaders.
Yeah.
It's the captain. That's the person calling people out, saying, "Hey, you dropped the ball." Right. So how do you connect people to the vision and the mission? Like, what do you do? Because that, from my perspective, is almost like the secret sauce. Like, fire someone up from within. How do you get your guys fired up from within?
It's a really interesting question because I was in the early days of like leadership and management. I wasn't as bullish on culture as I am now. And I think simply that's coming from kind of initially making that transition as a rep, you're like, hey, just money. And you think that drives everything, but it really doesn't. At its core, is that person willing to go the extra mile? Because you know that the money's going to be there. So it's fine. So with that in mind, like, you interview for culture for sure. And I think for me personally, anyone I hire on a team has to be a reflection of the owner themselves, because otherwise there's going to be immediate friction between the business owner and the rep. And so culture is definitely one of those things that I'm constantly assessing for in that process. I'm exposing you to maybe like language or humor that we have on the team and see how you kind of respond to it so that I can see that you're going to kind of fit in. But before someone gets on, mission, vision, purpose, for sure. Like the reps really have to understand why I'm hiring you, right? It's not the what or the logistics. It's the important thing for me. It's like, this is who we are. This is where we're going. And this is the type of person I want. And if you're not on board with that, do not take another step forward. And I am very blunt on the front end. Very blunt. I am not going to sugarcoat it. Like standards wise, you will do this. I do expect this. And I'm very blunt about it. Because if you can like deal with me at my worst, I know that you're going to like love me at my best. And it's not this adoration thing, but what you're trying to create, like you just said there, is a team that's willing to go all in and do whatever it takes. So they've got to be bought into mission, vision, value. And as a leader, you've got to be able to express that, not just on a piece of paper, but physically. Like, it has to come through and it has to be said. And you have to get the reaction of that person, because I'm not employing you because I need you to make me money. There's lots of people out there can help me do that. I'm employing you because I need you to be part of something bigger, to have a vision bigger than yourself and to work with others in order to be able to do that. And so that like checks and balances in the beginning. And, after time, you really read people very well and you kind of interpret, and you'll see people kind of getting bought into it. And all of a sudden, like, the money is still important, becomes less important because now the questions they're asking are way more involved and way more future paced.
Mm-hmm.
They're not now, right? What can you do for me now? Right? I always say to reps that I'm interviewing, I'm looking for someone that wants a home, not a paycheck. And so I want you to be here for the next 9 to months, 12 months, whatever it is. If you can't get on board with that at this point, then again, there's no point. I do a lot of like future pacing into like where the company's going and where I want you to be by that point, but by that time, really kind of try and take someone's focus away from the money, because if you let people focus on that, they're not the people that are going to bleed for you. And then when they come in, and to your point, I love that mentality. The team essentially polices itself
Mm-hmm.
if you've got the right team, and they will call each other out. And I think that when you've got an environment like that, it's amazing because it takes a lot of that pressure off, because that person will stand out very, very quickly. And I always tell my leaders, like who are in my teams, like if there's something you don't like about that person, I want to know about it. And the reason why, and I got this from it was actually there's a chain over here called Pret.
I know of
McDonald's
it.
bought it
I
out.
know,
Where,
I know of, I know of it very well. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So part of their hiring process is the team picks the person.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you bring someone in, the team have just as much voice as anyone else,
Mm-hmm.
because if they can't work together,
Powerful.
then they probably won't.
That's powerful.
And so I do listen to my team because I don't want to take away from what they love by bringing in some asshole that they
Yeah.
don't like.
The thing is
And
this.
I'd rather get rid of them.
Yeah. Look, the thing is this. Birds of a feather flock together. A players are not going to want to hang and work with A players. I think that, I heard some years ago that the greatest way to tell people who you are is to tell them who you're not.
Yep.
And by telling them who you're not, which you're doing very clearly from the beginning, you're making sure you're repelling those that don't fit. In other words, have no place. And what that actually does is it reinforces for those in the team that they're in the right place. It builds a sense of pride. It reinforces commitment. And it reaffirms the vision. In other words, this is who we are. You probably played sport. I mean, you obviously were an officer. You're a high achiever in what you do. We always want to be, I guess, in a team that we feel best represents our status. It is to some degree our status.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our status elevation, like to wear that hat, for example, like you got to wear that thing with pride. You know what I mean? Like I ain't bringing anyone in that's going to diminish the status of what we represent. So I guess
Absolutely.
that right there is a power play.
Huge.
Like that right
Huge.
there is a power play.
It's massive, mate. Because when you think about it, like a team isn't one person. It's like it's the culmination of lots of people with the same vision pushing in the same direction, and all it takes is one person to spoil that. Just one. One person with ill intentions or not willing to do the work, because that stand is, well, hang on a second. If he or she is doing that, why am I doing this? Why am I doing all this work and they're not? And most of the teams that you'll work with have like 2 to 10 reps.
Yep.
One person has a huge impact.
Yeah.
Massive.
It doesn't take much
And
to change the energy.
No, absolutely not. It can literally happen like that.
It's so quick too.
Yeah. And what we've got to remember is, as business owners, however they appear on the meeting, there's always conversations going on behind the meeting.
Yeah.
And it's like, interesting. And for me personally, I'm quite strategic how I run my teams. You'll see me now and again just do a general chit chat catch up and just get people to kind of voice their concerns and opinions. I'd rather those concerns and opinions be publicly discussed, so I know what's going on behind the scenes rather than people hiding it from me. And so I always look to create an environment where I can bring those things to the forefront, because if one person's complaining about something, I guarantee they've complained to the rest of them about it.
Yeah.
And so if I don't do that, then
Mhm.
I'm literally leaving a lot of that work ethic on the table because I'm just trying to ignore the things that are going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And a bad culture or people, it's usually when like reps start complaining about leads is when you notice a shift. You're like,
Just notice the
fuck.
shift in the energy.
It's a shift,
Mm.
massive. And then the
Mm.
team as a whole
Yeah.
are just WhatsApping each other and message each other, and the whole energy comes down. You're like,
Mm.
fuck.
It's
And you're
tangible.
constantly trying to stay ahead of
It's
it. Yeah.
tangible.
You,
You can feel it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You feel it on the
Feel
meeting.
it.
You're like,
You
oh my
feel it.
God,
It's
here we go.
tangible. I
Yeah,
feel it through
absolutely.
Slack. I feel it through the Slack channel, and it's almost like I've got
Yeah,
this innate, like this superpower where I can actually smell it. I'm like, something's
yeah.
changed, right? Like
So,
these
yeah,
motherfuckers have
absolutely.
changed. Something's going on in their heads, and you can actually feel it. And it's interesting, right? Because you fundamentally you wear two hats. You wear there's Sean, right? There's the guy that is happy to have a chat with you and be human with you, but unfortunately, there also has to be the Sean that wears the hat, and that hat is a different hat. And when I put that hat on, from what I hear, it's like, all right, I'm here and I've been employed for a reason, or I'm in this seat for a reason,
Hmm.
and therefore this is how it is, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the hard thing. So
100%.
being able to have those conversations, I think, is the magic sauce, and we learn over the years how to have them very very tactfully. There's a beautiful book actually called Crucial Conversations, and it talks about the art of being able to say very difficult things, but pre-disarming, so that they don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're actually being attacked and their safety is preserved, which is something I've tried to get better at, right? Because our natural
Yeah.
instinct is like, this, that, and the other, but it's not necessarily the most helpful situation, right? Um,
I mean, it depends upon your mood, right? And sometimes you just gotta let it go and just like, you motherfucker,
yeah,
I think people forget that we're human as well, right?
yeah,
And, we do, suffer from that emotion as well because it's your baby. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And like when you see that someone's not really doing what they should be doing or performing at the level they should be performing, it kind of like, I take it personally. I
mm,
don't know about
I
you, but
do,
I
I do,
genuinely take it
I do as
personally.
well.
Because
Yeah,
I'm like, because as a leader, we're like, did I let that happen? Is that my fault?
yeah,
Did I hire the wrong person? Did I not hold to standards enough? Why are we in the position we're in? And you have to have that extreme ownership over your entire team, and it's fucking stressful.
mm,
But you've got to be able to just, like you said, that spidey sense and go, there's something off. I need to get on the phone
call
and
it out.
start like putting this fire out
Yeah,
right now. Because it spreads like wildfire. It really does very, very quickly. I think one of the things I always made a habit of is just randomly calling reps
mm,
just to talk about them.
yeah.
Just not work.
Just in,
How you doing, man?
just interested.
100%. Just interested. Just because I think I read a book, it was like Simon Sinek actually, and he's talking about like what really kind of makes
Yeah,
employees, if I can use
fire
the
up.
term
Yeah, yeah,
exactly right. And it wasn't the money. What was more important was that they felt valued and listened to. And I think when you're playing this like sales manager, sales leader role, you have to be able to manage people really well.
it's not
And
good.
I think no, and that culture and that loyalty comes from that.
Yeah,
Hey man, how you going?
yeah,
Fine. And when I started doing it, there was a massive paranoia. They're like, what have I done? I'm like, I'm just checking in. But I think sometimes in the industry, what we've done is we've created this fear,
mm,
right? And like reps just go, oh my God, he's calling me. Fuck, what have I done? And I think that for me personally, that paranoia doesn't help because it doesn't help the two-way conversation that you need to have
mm,
in order to get these matters dealt with quicker. And it doesn't help when you're going, hey guys, fucking marketing's down. I need you on the phones, right? I think in those moments, those 10, 15-minute phone calls, it's kind of like cashing in on the trust that you built with someone, on the loyalty that you built with someone. And I think if you balance that very well and not just go numbers at them all the time and they feel like you actually give a shit, I think that's when you start to reach that nice
mm,
place as a sales manager, sales leader, because they'll start to come to you now when stuff goes on behind
mm,
the scenes. They'll open up to you when there's personal shit going on. And so you now have way more context of how your reps are working. And I think once you have that level of like working relationship with them, you can start to move things around the board a lot better. And so you don't get blindsided by it, which is typically what happens. Like a rep takes a week off, but if you have that relationship with him, you'll know that he's maybe having trouble with his wife, and it's like, I've got to get ahead of that. And so you've got to manage that side of things as well. It can't be ignored. It just can't.
Yeah. I
You
think
know.
that's the 1% of leadership, in a sense, where understand that there's a human behind the rep, the hat of the rep, and they've got other things going on
Yep.
in their world. I mean, look, it's so easy also to be not detached from that, but almost sort of overlook those things, given the amount of stuff that, founders and whatnot have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and the amount of things that are in their inbox and problems and shit that's blowing up. It's easy to forget the humans on the back end. And sales is that
Absolutely.
energetic game, right? I mean, you've done more sales than anyone. It's that energetic game. Like, you need to have your shit together in your life in order to be able to, show up and also perform at a
Yeah.
high level, so that you can actually show a prospect that you're paying attention. So if they know their manager has their back, so to speak, right? And is backing them every step of the way. In other words, not just with the coaching and not just with the feedback loop that's required, because everyone needs feedback. It doesn't matter who it is, right? We can only see what we can see.
Yep.
But if they know that
Yep.
you've got their back, in other words, okay, well, for whatever reason it is, like, I can trust him.
Yep.
Like, assuming,
Absolutely.
and there's that mutual trust that, they're obviously doing the work, they're doing what they need to do, and both parties then are bringing something to the table.
Hmm.
So, high performance from my perspective also, and look, Jeb Blunt in his book, Fanatical Prospecting, talks about the idea of prospecting, right?
Hmm.
But something I've taken from that and applied it to business from a growth perspective as a founder is the fact that fanatical prospecting also exists in our own recruitment pipeline. And I'm a
Yep.
firm believer, like, if you look at Real Madrid, right, they have fanatical prospecting inbuilt into their football culture. You look at Manchester United, Chelsea, like, these clubs have fanatical prospecting built into their culture. There's always someone else coming through the ranks that wants that number 9 jersey. There's always
Yep.
someone waiting. So what have you seen work in order to foster that high level?
Mm.
Because
Interesting.
if a rep knows that their seat is secure, from my perspective, humans are going to do human things. And,
Yep.
attention, as you said earlier, there's a honeymoon period, and every motherfucker's great at the beginning, right? But
Yeah.
but it's the 10% that remain focused over a period of time. So everyone else needs a little bit of upward pressure.
Hmm.
What do you do?
This is
What do you do?
this is a really, really, really interesting topic, and it's something I'm a huge, huge fan of. I think businesses should never, ever, ever, ever stop recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Ever? I
I
never
think
do.
if you
Always
no,
recruiting.
yep. I remember, like, again, early years, before I was in Sniper. There's a clip somewhere of Matt on a YouTube video going, on a podcast saying, I didn't have space for Sean, but I knew that I needed him.
Yeah.
And so he brought me on anyway because
Find
he didn't
room.
want to miss out.
Find room.
And that's, yeah, exactly. And that's not blowing smoke up my own ass, but if you constantly be recruiting, you'll always have, like, the best people in your business when it needs to be. The problem with sitting on your ass with recruitment is the fact that you're what we call key man risk.
Yeah.
So my top rep takes a fucking week off and the whole company just shits the
They
bed.
shit the bed.
And you're like, whoa, like, you feel it. And this is where a lot of businesses are really struggling, key man risk.
Yeah.
And they don't take recruiting as seriously as they should,
Yep.
because, hey, next man up, next woman up. And that's the mentality
Happens
that
so
you
quick.
need to have. Exactly. Like, you cannot rest on your laurels on recruitment ever. And I think it's probably one of the biggest understated risks to most businesses that, like, in our industry, is that. And I am constantly telling business owners, keep on recruiting, keep on recruiting, keep on recruiting. You'll thank me for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pain in the ass and you will hate it, but it's true. And I was watching a Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah. Love it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. And
Yeah, love it.
I watched two back to backs. I watched two back to backs. I watched one with Mr. Beast
Yep.
and one with Alex Samosi. And no matter what level the key risk to them was recruitment,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
And I think we
Oh,
drastically underestimate it. We really do. And I think, to be honest, I suppose, like, without getting on my soapbox, and it's easy just to put like a Facebook post out there and say, "Hey, I want another rep," right? But let's really think about
low
that,
level.
right? It's fucking bollocks.
Low
Like,
level.
you're getting anyone and everyone applying for it, and like you said, is if you're starting out, maybe if you're like a bit more advanced and you're making over 100, you should never be doing that,
Mhm.
because the next rep that's coming in will potentially make you 1 million.
Yeah.
So put some fucking effort into it, right? And really kind of put people through a process, like really do it the right way.
Mhm.
But the reps on the team should always know that there are standards. And the biggest risk on those standards is probably for the more mature reps on the team, because they get used to things and everything becomes a little bit more routine, a little bit habit. And then they think that, hey, I'm fine. No, you're not, motherfucker. Like, you should never feel fine, because we're in a sales industry. Like, you have to perform. And I think it was a couple of weeks back, and going over data and data and data, and you start to see like a high your important reps on the team, when they start to slip, you quite often, if you're not looking at the data, you won't see it, because your head is like, that's my guy,
Yeah.
that's my girl.
Yeah.
And you get blinded by that favoritism for that rep,
Yeah.
but
For the
they still
historics.
need to be held. Exactly. They still need to be held to the same standard as everyone else, because that's your front runner. If they go down or they slip, you are fucked.
Yeah.
And so you should always be recruiting, and you should always have those KPIs and standards for the team, like,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. Stock standard.
And I think that everyone on the team needs to know that, hey, I love you, right? And I'll do anything for you, but you still got a job to do. And you need to manage that. Like you said, two hats.
Yeah. Just to double click on that a little bit, the concept behind that is the universal law of need, right? And so
Hmm.
if you wait for the moment that you need a agent, it's too late. And the
It's too
reason
late.
it's too late, because the moment has passed, and now what tends to happen, because of urgency, there's the universal law of need. You're going to make poor decisions based on knee-jerk reactions, right? And so whenever there's an agent that's substandard in front of you, but you need to fill the seat because the pipeline's still full, the leads need to be called, and things are going to waste. I mean, I've been guilty of this, right? You drop your standards. And so, just like in sales, the concept of the universal law of need is such that, if you need a sale, you're going to come across with the wrong energy. You're going to feel a little needy and pushy, and in fact, the prospect
Yeah.
is going to feel that energetically through the exchange, and it isn't going to end well for you. Now, equally, the standards that you're talking about, you cannot hold those standards unless you have a consistent recruitment pipeline in motion with quality
Yep.
talent knocking on your door. Because
Yep.
did you ever hear I'm not sure if you had that in the UK, the John West thing. It's the fish that John West rejects that makes John West the best. Did you ever?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We did.
So growing up in Australia, they had this thing about tuna, right? John West being the tuna. So it was the fish he
Yeah.
rejected. So what makes, your teams great, I suppose, and gives you the ability to do that is the constant flow of
Mm.
leads coming through that allows you to, A, the exposure and the experience, but C, then to say, well, I don't actually need a rep, therefore you don't meet the standard. So you're not coming
Yeah.
in. Now,
Yeah.
like Matt did back in the day, because he had the pipeline full, when he gets someone like
Mm.
you knocking on the door, guess what? You open the door.
Yeah.
I
100%.
just had,
No matter what.
an agent apply. I've been like on 15 interviews this week, right? And even just earlier today, I didn't need a closer, someone at the sort of the top of the chain, but someone
Mm.
knocked on my door that when I interviewed and we went through a couple of steps, I recognized, well, hang on a sec, this person's worth my attention.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
now we're
Yep.
proceeding along the yellow brick road, right? But
Yep.
it's that concept of the universal law of need, and I've been hit so many times by it. And
But there's one, sorry, just to interject there. There's one reason why you have top reps knocking on your door, which is the other side of the fence. That you get recognized as a guy that someone wants to work for,
Mhm,
and has a company they want to work with.
mhm,
And I think that's key.
mhm.
And when you've got top talent knocking at your door, you're doing something right. Like, you just do. And I think that like a lot of business owners don't really aspire to that kind of level because it's just, oh, it's just another sales rep. It's not.
It's not.
Like this person's going to earn you $1 million over the course of the year. Like, let's get it right. But that's key. And you don't have a lot of business owners that get that,
Mm.
right? Because they
Mm.
don't know you, they don't know you from Adam. But I think as a business owner, that your brand, right, is
Is
key
everything.
to attracting good talent. I
Is
mean,
everything.
you want to play for Real Madrid because it's Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It's status,
And
right? It's status.
it's status,
It's
100%.
status. I mean,
Like,
the best of the best want to surround themselves with the best. And I always talk about this even with my sales agents, right? I mean, if you want to close high value, high net individuals, then they need to feel like they're on a call with an equal counterparty.
hmm
If they don't feel
yeah,
like they're dealing with someone at their level, an expert, they will not be moving forward. Equally,
no,
for the business owner out there that's trying to attract top talent that can convert at a reasonable level, then they need to feel like they're dealing with a business owner that actually takes their business serious. The individual that I was talking to today, and I interviewed 4 people. One of them in particular, he said, I got an offer which was I thought was going to be high level. It was a dog's breakfast, and so what I'm looking for now. And he went in and talked about process, and I went, okay, well, this guy,
yeah,
he knows what he's looking for,
there
right?
you go.
And so
There you go.
when he got I gave him, I teased him a little bit, gave him a little bit of a look behind the scenes, and he's like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for, right? So I guess that makes sense. So let's dive in a little bit to sales training, because I mean I would love to talk to you about for the next 10 hours about sales managing and recruiting. I just sort of love what you represent. You've almost got this Jocko Willink esque kind of vibe about you in the sales arena, right? You're like the
That's why I attract good reps.
yeah,
That's
man.
why I
Because
attract good
because
reps.
I think more than anything these days, it's almost like people have lost the ability to have a personality and to stand for something. And when you stand for
Yeah,
something, it's actually a little bit unusual. And so when
yeah,
people talk about standards and they recognize, well, fuck, hang on a sec. If I come and work with this guy, not only do I
hmm
get paid, but he's going to elevate me.
exactly.
I tell my reps, mate, when you come in, it's not just about like, don't come here for the paycheck, motherfucker. That's not what
Yeah,
this is about. Like, yeah, you're going to get paid, but I'm here to elevate your shit, right? Like, I'm here
yeah,
to help you, right, to
absolutely,
the best of my ability. I'm here to expose you to a way of thinking that breaks the
absolutely,
shackles that have held you down all your life. So
absolutely.
that's kind of the juice. But sales training is another whole different kit and caboodle.
It's a beast. It's a beast.
And there's offers and there's nuances, but fundamentally, like when we sort of understand that sales fundamentally is all very much the same as a journey. Engaging a prospect at a certain point to identify whether or not they have a problem that we can actually solve, and then walking them
Yep.
through a journey to a decision. And I'm because you don't build organizations, you don't build teams like you have. I mean, just so that some of the listeners have a little bit of context, right? Because they probably don't even know the fact they're dealing with like an OG, like a goat, right? Like just
Mhm.
give us a little glimpse of some of the accolades of teams that you've actually managed.
Oh man, like the majority, like the high level teams will be, million plus a month, 2 million plus a month. They'll be 20 reps deep. And it's like big organizations, where there's lots of moving parts and really kind of building teams as well and bringing in the right talent to escalate to those kind of levels. And I guess I love that kind of level where you're really kind of like, go, let's go. Marketing's dialed in. We've got all the systems in the background and we're really building a team. I'm not the typical type that would just say, oh, I've been responsible for tens of millions of sales or 100 million of sales, because I'm not built that way. But I think for me, having worked with, you name any brand, I've worked with them, and any guru that's worth talking about, I've worked with them.
You've worked with them.
And I say that to say that I think that when, to your point, like when you're in the right room, you're there because they acknowledge that you're at that level to kind of be in the same room as them. And I think that it's a journey to get there. But once you are there, I think the the I now have the ability to impact on bigger teams because of the journey that I've been on. And at this point now, you have teams going, I want you to build my team because you've done that for X. I want you to build it because I know why, and they talk extremely highly of you. Or reps, like, I really want to work on one of your teams. Like, I think that it's nice being at this level, but it's taken 14 years to get there. And I think 14 years in this industry, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
And it's a lot. And there's a lot of tireless kind of work that's gone into that. But I don't think there's a lot of people with much more experience than me in doing it. And I'm more on my thrive on the people side of business. And I think, to be honest, for me, like, when I come into a team, everything just shifts because my energy is very
Mm,
here, and I demand so much of people, but they know that I've got their back. And the only way you can build $1 million teams, it's not built on money. It's built on how well you know the reps in your
mm,
team and what you can, like, get out of them. And to your point, like, I'm gonna elevate you and make you better than anyone else ever could. And I think part of that is A, putting time in, but B, someone once told me once, and to be a sales leader or sales manager is an easy label, but it's a very difficult job to do. And I don't feel like in the industry at the
got it.
moment, there is enough sales leaders, sales managers with enough sales experience and know how to teach and train and coach teams.
Mhm.
I think that they just
Process.
AI
Process.
cut and paste 100%. It's bollocks. And they don't know how to make reps better. They don't know how to really diagnose what's going on and how to fix it. They don't know how to coach. They don't know how to QC. And it's just, it's a lot of this, but like no real substance. And I think a lot of, the reason why I'm, fairly good at building teams is because I've been on that journey a lot
Mhm.
and a long time. And so having that experience I think is key. And I'm seeing a lot of, and there's no disrespect, but a lot of like younger kind of reps coming through as sales managers, sales leaders, you haven't got the experience to back that decision up.
Mhm.
And, you haven't sold enough to really kind of help that rep because you haven't got anywhere near the amount of experience as that rep. And it's like, kudos to you for elevating yourself, but do you know enough? And I think that a lot of business owners are taking on sales managers, sales leaders just to get rid of the sales kind of
Push it
management
down
side
the
of
road.
things.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like what are you doing? And you're just like, I can't be asked for this. You deal with it. Because they don't want to deal with people and they don't want to be the leader of their team and they don't want to be the captain of the ship. But you can't build teams like that. Like a lot of the times when we come into businesses, like a lot of the teams that we work with, and I hate to say this, like selective. I want to come into an organization where the reps love the business owner, and I think for me personally, it's the best.
Yeah.
If there's any friction or fraction between that relationship, it's not going to last because all you're going to do is come in and strip that team out anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to, because they don't have the work ethic, the standards, and the loyalty that are going to be able to pull that off, especially with change. So, many, many, many years later, there's so many moving parts to building a successful team. I mean, I'll say anyone, but like you can hit $1 million a month, but can you do it every single month?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the industry at the moment are just riding, like, we hit it at the right time, but they haven't been able to maintain it. They got lucky. And again, it's not disrespect to anyone, but I think that when you're in a leadership position, you have to have experience. You just do.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any substitute for that.
Yeah.
And if a business owner, you're looking to make like 8 figures a year, I mean, fuck's sake, like you've got to have the people that can help you get there, not make decisions based upon like, well, who's available, like what you said, I need someone, you'll do. You've got to really have the experience to do you've got to, sorry, have a really good hiring process because you need the right people to get you there. You need the right systems and the right processes and the right person to manage those and manage the people. There's so many moving parts to it. But I think these days, what we kind of got into the habit of just is cut and paste. It's like, hey, great, this end-to-end system. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, I've got a sales team. No, you haven't. on paper it looks like you have, but a lot of the teams we go into, fuck me,
Yeah.
like there's three things to any team: people, process, and systems.
Yeah.
And you don't have the right people, and you've built it on very, very
Minimal.
cumbersome processes.
Yeah.
And the systems, Jesus Christ, like
Yeah.
it's a mess a lot of the time, because I think there's a lot of cut and paste consulting out there right now that's just going, hey, do this and this and this. And I could do that with any team, but it's not specific to your team. I think something needs to be really kind of said for, is this the right person with the right knowledge for my team and can get my team? I didn't used to think that. I used to think it was all like very, cut and paste back in the early days. But the more and more businesses you work with, there are not just process nuances, the people. You can have great systems, but if the people aren't there, you may as well just set fire to it.
Yeah.
If your marketing's dialed in and you don't have the right people, you may as well just set fire to the money. And honestly, I'll still be very bullish on this until whenever, but as long as there's people involved, people will be the most important part of that entire ecosystem,
Yeah.
because they're the ones that will make or break you.
Yeah.
And anyone can fuck up a fairly simple system. And they do it really well.
They do it.
The amount of business owners I speak to, we've invested tens of thousands of dollars in this brand new system and processes. Yeah, but your people are shit, And so to build a team, it's not as easy as people think. It really isn't. And I think, to be honest with you, like, person of your experience, person of my experience, we know how to spot talent. And I think that being able to recognize talent, it comes with time.
It comes with time.
And so it does. You've got to get slapped in the face quite a few times and go, right, okay, learn from that mistake.
Learn from that one.
Because it'll always be the people that will fuck you over. Always. So if you don't have that skill set, fucking give it to someone else. Because like, I know how to spot a good rep.
Your zone.
So if I go into
exactly.
If I go into a business, I know exactly who we're looking for. I know exactly like the type of person I'm looking for. The business owner might not necessarily know. If you're unsure, don't take a risk. And this is where like the recruitment industry is kind of taken off in two ways. One, can't be asked to do it. Just fucking pay someone to do it. But the smart business owners that don't quite have the experience, they're like, I don't have the experience for this. I want to build an A-level team. And all they know is that an A-level team looks like $1 million a month. That's the only metric that they have. So it's like bum on a seat, taking calls. It's not. Like, it's the right people that will get you there. And I think that if you don't have the experience, get someone else to do it that is experienced, that knows. After 14 years, I know what a good rep looks like.
I think
I know what a good salesman looks like.
Expand on that a little bit, is that the recently in my health business, we had a client actually give some feedback in terms of, their experience and give us a review and so forth. And what was really interesting was that the client said that the most life-changing part of the entire program was the initial sales call.
Sales call. Interesting. That's really interesting.
When I heard that, I thought, wow, we nailed it. Right. In that moment, right? Sometimes we'll fuck it up, but I think to give business owners, founders, and sales agents listening to this just a little bit more perspective, how important that exchange is and why business owners need to take their recruitment, hiring, training, and the nurture, the management of their sales team to new heights, is because it is actually the first interaction that a prospect is going to have with your business. And in fact, there was some recent research I saw. I can't quote exactly what it was, but I remember hearing and saying that that most people find that the most important part of their perception of a brand was the initial exchange. Was the initial exchange, right? So if you've got an agent, for example, that doesn't understand the science, right? And so they create external pressure because they've got a manager that's putting a little bit of heat on them, whatever. They're behind on their monthly quota. So they're using tactics really which aren't helpful. And in fact, it's going to come back to bite them. They're using external pressure. That isn't going to sit well with a prospect and eventually when they leave a 1-star review. That said, if you've got an agent that knows how to operate really skillfully with extreme empathy, but with laser focus on service, on heart, and pushing and probing to create internal
Hmm.
pressure in the prospect, well, the person's going to
Hmm.
move forward for their reasons. And when
Exactly.
someone moves forward for their reasons, you've got a client on fire.
Yeah.
And when you've
No,
got a client on
absolutely.
fire, like everything just gets better. So that's why that is
Yeah.
so important. And I've seen it
Yeah.
myself, right? We had an agent, just to give you a bit of perspective, Sean, we had an agent come into my business about 3 years ago. And this guy, I mean, he was like, you ever seen those guys that are just like lone wolves? This dude
Yep.
was not taking, this was early in my day too, by the way, right? So you're going to have to forgive me. But this dude came in, right? Dude, he seriously did. This is no bullshit. He did 12 sales in one day. I literally turned on the Slack channel and I'm looking at this dude getting these closes. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh.
How is it that this guy has outperformed everyone else in his first day? Oh, there's got to be something up here. So I went and listened to the calls. And I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by this. And obviously, it shows that, at the time, I didn't vet him well enough. But his process to get people to take the next step was less than perfect. So to put it nicely. And the only thing
Yeah.
that's going to create is problems down the road. So someone may listen to this and go, but what's the problem? Like, he just made 12 sales, but there is a problem. The problem is the reputation and the cost to the business long term. So it is no surprise that I had to let him go politely,
Yep.
and we went our own ways because we couldn't agree that there was a need to follow a path. So I'd love just to get your perspective and I guess your view on the difference between management and micromanagement. And in fact, is micromanagement an issue? Because in this day and age, I believe there's a bunch of people that are just too fucking soft. And in
Yeah.
fact, what they like to do is almost, what's that term for it? Where people gaslight. It's like, well, you're
Yeah. Yeah.
micromanaging. Well, no. I'm not micromanaging. I remember saying this to a person once. He was accusing me of micromanaging. I said, I am actually managing and maintaining standards. But I would love to hear from you, like from your perspective, right? Like the difference between the two.
I said to one of my teams yesterday, actually, and it's interesting you bring this up. Like, I hate micromanagement. I can't stand it. Because I think, to be honest with you, I think we create a rod for our own back as leaders by hiring the wrong people.
Mhm.
And I think when you hire the wrong person, you know that you're going to have to micromanage them. And like literally within the first week is probably where I do the most amount of QC. Because with that first week, I can tell what kind of rep you're going to be, what kind of skill level you're going to be at with the prospects you work with. Because there is an element of like, I can interview these people and they look amazing, feel amazing. You've got that warm, fuzzy feeling. And then they just drop the fucking ball when they come in. So I very much am paying extreme close attention in that first week to 2 weeks. And you'll be able to tell very, very quickly. And then, when you start kind of, teaching, training, coaching a different way, I've kind of stopped fighting the current now. So when people come in, I'm like, sell how you sell, but pitch how I pitch. Because what I'm giving them is like, okay, right, you've learned from XYZ, right? I know there's going to be some leads burned in this, but go and prove me wrong. Right. And if I don't fight it and I let them be who they want to be from like discovery and objection handling perspective, but I'm just really tight and rigid on the pitch because I know that's going to have a knock-on effect, like you said, on the standards on people coming through. At least that way, I can say in 2 weeks, your way doesn't work. Right. I like you as a rep. You got a good attitude, good work ethic, but now they become more coachable to me because you haven't earned the money you want to earn. So sell how you sell, pitch how I pitch.
I love that.
And I got that from when I was at seventh because a lot of reps were coming on the calls during my coaching sessions and going, the fucking manager won't let me do this. And I think that we do run a risk sometimes of being maybe too prescriptive because that script that you wrote might be banger for you, but it's not going to work for every single rep that you have. And, let's face it, you've been in this game of years and sometimes people just like, how the fuck does that even work?
Yeah.
But hey, if I don't let you explore it, then we're just going to be clashing the entire time. And I don't want to micromanage your calls. I want to know that what you're doing is working. So that first 2 weeks is like, sell how you sell, pitch how I pitch. They'll pay more attention just to the pitch because that's the thing that's going to get the business in trouble. And most people I've hired, they do have a good level of skill, or else they wouldn't be in there in the
Or
first
they
place.
wouldn't be
So
there. Mm,
exactly, there
mm.
has to be an element of trust, because I said this to someone last week. I'm not hiring someone to do sales training with them. I'm just not. Right. And I think that's a shift. Like, I don't hire people to train them. I hire people because you can do a fucking job. And that's the difference in really putting people through this robust process, is making sure they have the appropriate level of skill. So I don't have to micromanage you, because the hiring will take that fear out of it. Now, again, don't get me wrong, standards. First 2 weeks, are they doing their ADs? Are they doing their tracking? Is their CRM up to date? Are they just hot mess? Do they turn up on time? Are they, presenting in meetings? So massive amount of like standards and hand holding in the first 2 weeks. And if I can't get them to where they need to be in that first 2 weeks, then like there's no hope for them. There really isn't, because I've hired for what I want first and foremost.
Already,
And now
yeah,
I've got exactly. So when I look at performance within that first 2 weeks, I've taught you everything you need to know. After that 2 weeks, you're choosing not to do it. And so that's why I have that 30-day window, because you either make it within that time or you won't. And after 15 live calls, if you can't at least get 25%, just conservatively speaking, close rate, what are we even doing here? Because it's going to be too much of a lift for me. And I don't have the time in the business to coach you for another 3 or 4 months, because that's a massive revenue loss.
massive revenue
And it's a
loss.
huge time suck for me.
Yeah,
So there is a massive amount of personal responsibility on the reps, needs to be up to standard before they come in. And I think when you have that hiring process, and as to your point, you're not making urgent decisions. You're hiring the right people with the right skill set, with the right work ethic, which makes your job so much easier. Micromanaging isn't something I enjoy. It just is
yeah,
not. If you're not the person, like I said, you'll show yourself very, very quickly. And again, that input from the team as well that I'm getting, this person's going to fit in, this
yeah,
person won't. It's a lot of work in that first couple of weeks, but I'm not hiring someone to babysit them. I'm
yeah.
just not. And I think it really annoys me when business owners are like, "Oh, we'll just hire a VA to do that." Hang on a second, I'm hiring you to do that, right? Like, I had a rep the other week, and it's like, "Oh, I don't have time." So we literally went through his diary, and you do have time. You're just being lazy. And it's like, I don't have time to this, don't have time to that. You always do. Well, you had a no-show there. What did you do with that time? Well, I needed some dinner. Well, you would have been on a call, so why didn't you just do the fucking work? So it really is a case of, you're either going to make it or break it in that first period of time. And after that,
Mm-hmm.
it should be like maintenance. It really should
Should
be.
be.
Don't get me wrong, they're going to slip from time to time. They always do. But, yourself as like, that management leadership infrastructure, you do have checks and balances. And you do have those like, okay, core review for such, and you do have a cadence of core reviews and management. And, for the more established reps, it'll be like once a fortnight, I'll touch base with them. For the newer reps, it'll be once a week. And then obviously I've got daily meetings plumbed in for that reason, because I don't want to double up on meetings all the time when I can do a lot of it in the daily meetings. And I think those daily meetings are really important, even though,
Every team meets daily.
yeah,
Everyone in
because,
the team.
yeah, because for me personally, it's kind of like having a football team, isn't it? It's like, let's fucking go. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tone is set, the actions are set. Everyone knows what they need to do. It's like, right, we're gone. And then like, it's like a bookend to the day. So the sales meeting is the start of the day, and your EOD report is the end of your day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to meet you. I just need you to write down exactly what it is you've done to meet the standards that we set in the morning.
Yep.
So you kind of bookend your day. So there is essentially a 9 to 5 there, a start and an end. But those daily meetings are so important, and you can keep on reinforcing standards, and you can keep on doing those like little things that like niggle a team over time. And I've gotten to the point now where on every daily meeting, I'll have the sales reps literally show their screen and show their diary, right, to everyone. So there's like an extreme ownership and accountability to you. I can see when they haven't done their pre-call. I can see that their diary's a mess. I can see everything, and they've got to show up with a plan on a daily basis. Like, I'm this person, this, and they've also got to talk me through their follow-ups as well, because they should be being followed. So every single day, you've got to bring your best self to those meetings. And I think when you organize a team like that, they know that they can't show up, just like roll out of bed and just start to work because it's already too late by that point. You should have prepped, and be ready to go because potentially with 5 calls on your calendar, that's 5 grand in commissions you can make right there.
Yep.
Like, sort your shit out, And I think that when you put those kind of things in place on a daily basis, then there is checks and balances there. There is micromanagement there because you do it on a daily basis. But instead of like double stacking all the time, you'll be able to do it because no one wants to be the guy or girl that stands out of not having done it
Not
because
prepared.
it's an embarrassment.
Yep.
Because I'm simply going to say, hey man, not quite up to par. Just stay behind afterwards, and we'll have that chat. And now the whole team know that he's going to get bollocking, and the whole team understand that like it's not tolerated that you're not going to come in at the level that I want you to come in at. So I think with a lot of that extreme ownership, that extreme accountability, that like just openness on meetings, because it's very easy for sales reps to talk themselves out of something. They're very, very good at fucking chatting. And it's like, well, actually, when the rubber meets the road, that was an actual pile of shit. And obviously, there's things that we need to do in the background, like looking through the CRM and making sure they're actually doing what they're telling to. But I just don't want to hire people I just don't feel like I can trust.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have that relationship, they don't want to lie to you. They'll quite happily go, hey man, I fucked up
Yeah.
massively. And I think that when you've got a rep coming to you with those things, I think you've kind of got the right person, the right seat at the right time.
Yeah. That's
But yeah, I just think these days as business owners, we've gotten stupid. They're buying more systems, more people to cover for the fact that the reps are not doing the job that you hired them to do. And like I said, I have no problems with VAs, but if I was able to manage a full diary by myself when I was a sales rep, my expectation is you'll be able to do the same thing because I'm still here and I've made a truckload of money because I worked hard for it. So, if you're going to bring that entitlement of I'm too busy, I know that you're not too busy. I know you're just lazy and you're just not maximizing your time correctly.
mm,
So I think with all that being said, I think that standards are key, but I think hiring eliminates a lot of that. Um, if I don't, if I don't have that feeling about someone coming in, I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to go to sleep at night just thinking, fuck,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it doesn't sit well, does it?
No.
Do you know what I mean? You can't,
You
you
know.
can't like go, for dinner with your wife and think, I'm okay. You're worried about that person. I don't want to hire for that.
Yeah. You know. Well, we could go on for days about about sales teams, and I love it. But so to wrap it up, right? If someone's looking to break into the industry, I mean, if there were some points of advice that you know Uncle Sean could give these people coming in, like what are some of those points?
The first thing I'd say is like, don't get shiny object syndrome. Like when you learn one methodology, stick with it until you're successful. I think a lot of new reps get sucked into because there's so much
There's
like
so much
sales
noise.
advice these days.
Yeah.
It's insane. Pick one. I don't care who it is, but pick one and stick with it until you start getting results. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say is treat it like a 9 to 5 job. Genuinely, clock in, clock out, and have your day maximized and time blocked. Because the more oversight and the more bumpers you can put on your activity, the better it's going to be for you.
Mhm.
And I think the last thing I would probably say is get rid of any expectation that it's going to take 5 weeks to get to where you want to get to. I think you've got to come in with the mindset it is what it is. It's whatever it takes, and I'm going to keep on doing it until I get the result I'm looking for. I think with those 3 things, you'll shine. Where I see a lot of new reps go wrong is, like I said, shiny object syndrome. And they get sucked into so many different things and they've not learned one process. And I think it's unfair. I think from an industry perspective, everyone's just trying to make money, which is fine, but it's at the detriment of the newer reps coming through because they don't know any better.
Mm.
And either the ones that survive or they don't. But the ones that survive, you know, they're not great.
Mm.
they're really just confused and really not working hard. So stick with one sales methodology until you start earning money. Work really, really hard and structure your day, because the structuring of your day will allow you to work really, really hard, because you know that I'm sat at my desk between 9 and 5. Until you get to a decent flow and you're making decent amount of money, you can really kind of start to, take the bumper plates off. But
Mm.
it's how we're engineered as human beings to,
Structure.
when you went to school, eight
Structure.
to four, 9 to 5, it's structure. Without the structure, you will not do the work that's necessary to get to the result you're looking for.
There's a bit of a stoic quote
Um,
in that, which is about, that true freedom is found in discipline. What
mm,
you're talking about is structured discipline, which actually produces freedom. Think about the concept of being healthy. The more, you do what you need to do, you choose the exercise over snoozing, that kind of stuff. That discipline produces freedom, because then you've got
absolutely.
the energy, you've got the clarity, you've got the vitality you need to do what you need to do. So I love that.
Absolutely. I kind of feel sorry for new reps coming into the industry, because they just don't know what's going to hit them. And it is tough. There's no two ways about it. And it's tough because it's so much overwhelm. When I first started out, there was probably maybe a handful of sales trainers out there, that were worth, learning from. And the problem is that those people have taught others, and they've gone boom. And there's just
Yeah.
this just wave of sales trainers and advice these days. But to be honest, at its core, it's all the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. When you
Um,
break it, you
everyone's
boil
just
it down. Yeah.
everyone's just trying to put a new spin on it. There's no such thing as an original idea in
Yeah.
sales. There just isn't.
No.
And I think to your point, it's the discipline that separates the wheat from the chaff.
Mm.
It's the hard work that separates them, because let's face it, we can teach skill, but you can't teach work ethic and you can't teach mindset. Really, someone's got to learn that and go through that and really do that self work to come out the other side of that one. I
Mm.
think that's where I spend a lot of my time recruitment, because I know that I'm a really good sales trainer. So I know that I can bring you up to standard, because on all I need is someone to do the work.
Love it.
And I think these days my mindset has kind of shifted a little bit, because if you get people in that can maintain the standards, work hard, which is quite a rare thing these days, and be committed, over time, they'll develop the skill. But the other way on,
No, never work.
high skilled, low work ethic doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Sean, thank you, brother. Mate, absolute pleasure having you on and having this
I appreciate it.
conversation. And hopefully, if you're listening out there, you got a lot out of it. Feel free to obviously leave your comments, and it'd be great to hear what you actually took away from this. So where can they actually follow you if they want to follow you?
I think there's only one Sean Wray on Facebook. So if you catch
There's
me on
only
there,
one.
you'll catch me. There's only one. There's only one. And you catch me on there, you'll see a lot of what I do. And obviously, if you're, a good rep, if you're listening to this, you think that's me, then by all means, shoot yourself my way. And obviously, business owners, if you're looking to build a team, then you know where to come.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it, brother.
That's a wrap for today. Now, wasn't that special? That's another episode of the Freedom Formula podcast. I want to extend a big thank you to Sean Wray for obviously sharing his journey and all the insights that obviously, you just heard and experienced. That comes through years of exposure, and that exposure is priceless. And you just got it, obviously, for free. And hopefully you've taken some real golden nuggets that you can apply, whether it be into your sales career or any other career. Now, he went from law enforcement to high ticket sales to building and training elite sales teams across the globe. That doesn't happen by mistake. It happens with intention. Now, here's some of the takeaways. Sales isn't just about closing deals. It's about the consistency. It's about the culture by which you operate and how you go about things. And obviously the character that you build, which compounds over the long time. And that compounding effect is what actually creates the success that we all desire. But it comes from extreme ownership. It's nurtured with extreme discipline. And the foundation of it is doing what it takes, not what you hope it takes. And I love that. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and you're finally ready to build more time, more money, and geographical freedom into your life, well, head to the show notes and explore the Freedom Academy and what it could possibly mean for you. I'm Shane DaCosta. Thanks for listening. And remember, freedom isn't free, but it's always worth fighting for. I'll see you on the next episode.